too long. I got overruled, and you're going to hear a little vacuuming, so I'm going to stay muted until it's time.
Great.
How are you guys and gals doing tonight?
Okay.
Hey, Mike.
What's going on, bud?
Yep, good.
Long. I got overruled.
Sorry. My fault. Okay,
So
we are now streaming on live on YouTube.
Okay, I've got about another minute before we start.
Well, I was left wondering if Mike was happy about the Alabama win or disappointed, but maybe I'll ask you in person.
I'm okay. I'm all about a little roll tide. Had a bunch of friends that went to school down. Nothing wrong with that at all, brother.
And Kelly, do you have me as a host, co-host, or anything like that?
I will do that. I'll make you co-host.
Are you going to keep an eye on the lobby this time, or are you going to keep it? Okay.
Yeah. I will. But if you need to do breakout rooms, you're now co-host, so you should be able to do that. And we're recording and we're live.
Okay. Okay, well, I have 6 o'clock, so let's go ahead and begin this regular city council meeting of the city of Lake Stevens. And today is Tuesday, January 12th, 2021, and it is 6 p.m. And this meeting is going to be held via Zoom and live streamed on YouTube and can be seen on our YouTube channel after the meeting. So with that, I'll call the meeting to order, and I would ask everyone to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag,
to the flag of
United
the United States
States
of America
to the
and to the
republic,
republic
which
for which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation, under God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with
liberty,
liberty and justice for all.
All right, great. Thank you very much for that. And Kelly, can we get a roll call?
Sure. Councilmember Daughtry,
I'm here.
Councilmember Peter Shagan,
Present.
Councilmember Frederick,
Here.
Councilmember Dickinson,
Here,
Councilmember Dorstad, here. Councilmember Ewing,
Present.
Councilmember Tagent.
Present.
Not everybody, Kelly?
Everyone's present. Yep.
Excellent. Council President Tagent, can we get an agenda, please?
Great. Hopefully everyone's had a chance to review the agenda. I was looking, yes, Gary, Councilmember.
Yes, I'd like to jump in here right away and ask for an amendment to the agenda, asking for executive session at the end of our meeting tonight. No action will be taken, but we need about 10 minutes.
Great. So looks like we need 10 minutes for an executive session. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda as changed or requested to be changed by Councilmember Peter Sagan?
Motion to approve is amended.
Wait 1 second. Well, let me get a first and second. We'll go into discussion. Councilmember Dickinson.
Second.
I got a first and second discussion.
yes, I would like to have us do a discussion about the letter I and the consent agenda before we approve the consent agenda. I have some questions about that.
So we would move that down to action items then.
Yes,
Discussion items. You moved to discussion items. She just wanted to discuss it.
we just want to discuss it, right?
Well, then we wouldn't move it through a consent agenda then.
No, it's moving I to discussion items, not action items. There wouldn't be any action
Oh.
on the discussion.
Got it. Any
Thank you.
concerns with that? Let's call on this first one. We got a first and a second to approve the executive session. Can I get all in favor of approving the executive session?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. So that passes unanimous. And then can I get a motion for Councilmember Dickinson's motion to move I to discussion?
I just want a clarification. Are you, Mary, suggesting that we then wouldn't vote on that tonight?
No, no, let me read what I wrote. I wanted to move it to a discussion prior to approving prior to voting on the consent agenda. It's for the sake of transparency, and I think that's a critical part of governance. And I just think there's some questions that community members may have, and I just want to have a chance for clarity on that issue of commission appointments.
So what would your proposal be then, Councilmember Dickinson?
I propose that we amend the consent agenda to allow for discussion of the board and commission appointments, letter I, prior to approving the agenda or prior. This is for the sake of transparency.
So are you
Is that clarifying or no?
So may I make a point of order, please?
Yes, sir.
What Mary is really trying to do is she wants to have a discussion before we approve this. So I think it needs to be moved to action items instead, where we can have a discussion about it and then we can take action on it after the discussion.
Okay.
And
so
I would
is your
move,
proposal
and I
then
would
to
move
move
that we
item
board
I
that we approve
to
that.
action item?
Yes. Thank you.
I move to
Okay.
approve
So
Mary's.
can I get a motion on that, Councilmember Dickinson?
Okay, I move that we move the letter I from the consent agenda to make it an action item following a discussion.
Can I get a second on that?
Second.
I got a first and second. All in favor of moving letter I from consent to action?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Great. So can I get a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Move.
Got a first and second. All in favor of approving the agenda tonight?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? No, great. Mary, you now have an agenda.
Council President,
Thank you.
who was the second on that? I think there's a little delay, or maybe it's on my end. I had a first of Councilmember Daughtry. Who was the second?
Sean.
It was you, Mary?
Who-
It was Sean.
It was Sean. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Councilmember Frederick.
Mhm. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you for the agenda, and I appreciate the correction on that. So with that, Kelly, would you check the lobby to make sure we don't have anybody in the lobby to miss citizens' comments tonight?
There is nobody in the lobby.
Nobody in the lobby. So with that, I will open up the floor for citizens' comments. Citizens' comments in this state is I'll look for a hand raised, or if you say your first name, I'll recognize you, and you will get 3 minutes to speak to the council. And we ask that you give us your name and your address. So with that, I'll open up the floor for citizens' comments at this time. Is there anybody who would like to give citizens' comment? Looking for a hand raised or listening for first name. Anybody with citizens' comments? I am not seeing anybody raising their hand or hearing anybody. And with that, Kelly, is there anybody in the lobby at this time?
There is nobody in the lobby, and I did not see any hands either.
Okay, with that, we'll close citizens' comments and we'll move to council business. Council President.
Great. Why don't we start with Councilmember Daughtry?
I really don't have anything tonight. Thank you.
Great. Councilmember Frederick.
Nothing to pass.
Councilmember Peter Sagan.
Nothing at this point. Thank you.
Great. Councilmember Dickinson.
I just want to thank Barb Stevens and Joshua Roundy, our veritable heroes, for a great job on the budget that was approved and okayed. Really glad.
Great. Councilmember Georgette.
I have nothing this evening. Thank you.
Councilmember Steve. Sorry.
I got the cue. Hey, thank you. Hey, I want to thank all those responsible for the holiday lights downtown. We just really enjoyed our family and got many comments from the community members that appreciate how festive the downtown area looks, and just so grateful for all those that put in the time and effort to make that just an outstanding attraction. I found myself going out of my way to go by there as many times as I could to enjoy that, and I know others did as well. So thank you.
For me, only thing I have is, and Kim can chime in on this as well as Councilmember Frederick. The Veterans Commission is having their first coffee clutch coming up. If you guys would like to attend, that would be great. Just trying to get some action moving forward in the Veterans Commission at the start of this year, the best we can under the circumstances. So that would be it for me. If you got a little comment, Councilmember Daughtry?
Yeah, it's going to be 7:30 Saturday morning on Zoom, and we can get that. I think it went out on the website underneath the Veterans Commission, for the city's website under Veterans Commission, and it's going to be out on some social media tomorrow. So thank you.
So who decided on 7:30 a.m.? That's pretty early for Saturday. You talking veterans?
It was.
Well, you know, all of us military guys get up early.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
All right,
really, it was
enough
we had to work with being able to use the mill when the mill comes available, and because we were just going to use it on a Saturday or Sunday. If you remember how we did the mill, we were leaving that open for large gatherings to be able to use it during those times. So we collaborated with the city and said, well, we'll do it at 7:30. We'll be out of there by 9. And of course, now we're still on Zoom, but that's how it started. So that's what we're going to continue to do, even on Zoom. And I know Marcus is going to be there to start it, so I don't know if I'll be there or not.
Very clever.
Yeah, right.
I think if it was planned by an Army guy, it would have been at 5:30 right after a 5-mile run. I'm just saying though.
That's why a Navy guy planned it.
We're looking for participation. I'll turn it over to you, Mayor, with the last of those comments.
So we do have an election of officers tonight. President, do you want to run that, or would you like me to run that?
Why don't you go ahead and run it?
Okay, great. So we do have an election of officers. In the first meeting, or in January of every year, we have an election of city council officers. The president and vice president positions are open. So with that, I think I will open up the office of vice president first. Are there any nominations for city council vice president?
Mr. Mayor, I nominate Sean Frederick for vice president.
I'll second that.
Okay, so I have a second, or I have a nomination of Sean Frederick for vice president. Are there any other vice president nominations? Mary, your hand is up.
Yes, I move that we elect Angie Georgette as council vice president. She has proven her leadership in our community, and just now, more than ever, affordable housing and mental health issues that are suffering so challenging right now. She has proven that she's knowledgeable about that too. She's shown how she will listen to all views. She will bring fresh perspective to the work of the council.
Okay, so I have a nomination of Angie Georgette for vice president. Are there any other nominations for vice president?
Excuse me, Mayor, do we need a first and a second on those nominations?
I'm not sure that we need a first and a second on a nomination. It's just a nomination.
No, we do not. It's just a nomination.
Got it. Okay, just making sure.
In any other last call for nominations, vice president? Okay, so with that, would either candidate want to plead your case or stay silent?
I can speak. I appreciate the nomination, Mary, and the kind words. I would look forward to the opportunity to serve as vice president or vice chair. I'm interested in learning more about leadership on the council and would be honored to have that position.
Sean?
I will say that I am honored for the nomination and equally as interested. Certainly would not pretend that I'm ready to be president, but I think this is an excellent opportunity to learn from whoever the president is and be prepared for that role. I have learned a lot in my role outside of city council as well. My responsibilities are countywide, and I would welcome the opportunity. I would do my best. I would put forth 100% effort as I do in everything that I do every single day.
Okay, so with that, Kelly, I think what we'll do is by council member, if you could ask each council member who they will vote for by first name, and we'll tally the vote at the end.
Okay, so each council member will say either Georgette or Frederick.
Correct.
Okay. Councilmember Daughtry,
Frederick,
Councilmember Peter Shagan,
Frederick,
Councilmember Frederick,
Georgette.
Councilmember Dickinson,
Georgette.
Councilmember Georgette,
Georgette,
Councilmember Ewing,
Frederick,
Councilmember Tadgett.
Frederick.
Frederick has 4 and Georgette has 3.
All right, excellent. Both great candidates. Congratulations, new Vice President, Councilmember Frederick. Awesome. So with that, I'll open the floor for nominations for City Council President.
Mr. Mayor, I will nominate Councilmember Kim Daughtry to serve as Council President for the year of 2021.
Okay, I have a nomination of Councilmember Kim Daughtry for President. Any other nominations? And I'll ask again, any other nominations for Council President?
Can I move that we elect Angie Georgette again or no?
You can nominate
Okay,
anybody as long as they're on
What
the
the
council, Mary.
Oh, yes. So I move that we elect Angie Georgette to as our council president. And I've already read what I said, so I won't read it again. But yeah, I think it'd be great to have, let's just say, never mind. I'm not going to say that, but I would really love to see Angie as a president. I think she'd be great. Thank you.
Okay. And I guess I should ask Kim and Angie, are you acceptive of these nominations?
yes.
yes.
Okay.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Mary.
I didn't want to presuppose anything. Okay, so with that in mind, is there any other nominations for president? Okay, not hearing any other nominations. We'll open up to the 2 candidates again for some words on your campaign.
Go ahead, Angie.
Well, I appreciate the nomination, Mary. Thank you very much. Like I said, I think that this would be an incredible opportunity. I'm humbled by the nomination. I'm really excited about the opportunity to have a leadership role on the council. I think that I would really want to focus on communication and collaboration and making sure that we have opportunities to, talk through the issues and work together. I appreciate the nomination. I would love to hear from Brett, if you wouldn't mind, just hearing a bit about your expectations of a council president and what you would hope to see in that person, what you're expecting.
Yeah, sure. So the council president, for those who don't know, when the mayor is absent, fills in for the mayor, Mayor Pro Tem. And so it's very important for me that council president and even the vice president is very in tune as to what my vision is and the council's vision for where we're going forward. Also, it's very important to me that they know the staff and the constraints of in dealing with the staff is very important as well. I think it's also very important for me that whoever that council president is someone that I can trust and is able to keep that vision moving forward. Those are some points that are important to me.
Great. Thanks, Mayor.
You bet.
Well, I guess it's my turn. Been on the council for 11 years. I've served as president once. I would love the opportunity to do it again. I guess there's really not much else to say. I'll do as best I can. I put as much time and effort into it as necessary, and I have the time to do it. So thank you for your consideration. Thanks.
All right, great. Again, both great candidates. Kelly, let's have the same vote process, please.
Okay. When I say the name, it will be Daughtry or Georgette. Councilmember Daughtry.
That's awkward.
I know.
Daughtry.
Councilmember Peter Shagan.
Daughtry.
Councilmember Frederick.
Daughtry.
Councilmember Dickinson.
Georgette.
Councilmember Georgette.
Orsted.
Councilmember Ewing.
Daughtry.
And Councilmember Tagent. You're muted. Councilmember Tagent, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Councilmember Daughtry, just wanted to say, Angie, it's been great working with you this last year. Very cooperative. You've been great on the council. So a very worthy candidate for both seats. But thank you.
What is your vote?
Daughtry.
Daughtry, okay.
Am I actually the only person that voted against myself?
You are.
Pretty much.
So Daughtry has 5 and Georgette has 2.
Well,
So Sean, are you going to do that during the election?
my electoral vote is my business.
Okay.
Well, it goes along with the very military known thing is that you never volunteer. So perfect. Okay, so great. We have a new vice president and we have a new president. And I would like to just thank the outgoing president, Tagent, and outgoing vice president, Peter Shagan. They've both been excellent to work with over the last year, supported me very well, and have been really rocks for me to go to for council, and I appreciate them in those positions, and I know they'll continue serving well on the city council. So, and I'm very excited to work with both Kim and Sean as we move forward. Good stuff. Okay, great stuff. With that, I do have a little bit of mayor's business. I want to talk about I know I've spoken with most of you about it. We had a key meeting last week with Fish and Wildlife folks. We had them come into Lake Stevens and actually walk down Hartford and walk behind Jay's and look at the weir. And it was a perfect day for it because the lake was at its highest and we were completely flooded, right? So it was a great day to have them here from that perspective. And out of the outcome of that meeting is we received today an emergency declaration permit from Fish and Wildlife that allows us to get into the lake outflow channel and start to clear out the debris of that channel. That's a big deal for us to do that outside the fish window, and very appreciative of Fish and Wildlife working with us on that. Now, additionally, they advised us to put in for standard permits that would allow us to get into the during the fish window to do continual debris clean out as well as sediment clean out that we could do during the fish window timeframe. And those are 5-year permits. So we apply for it now and it's good for 5 years every fish window. We also had a good discussion about the weir, and they had some great design thoughts for the weir and how we can better control the lake. It was just a great meeting overall. And so yesterday we had one of our public works guys run over to one of the things. In order to clear the debris, it has to be done with a special rake bucket on the excavator. And the closest one we could find was in Colville. So we sent a public works guy over there yesterday. He brought that back over here today. We lined up some other logistics points, and I think that we will actually start on the debris removal tomorrow, and try to get some of that water out of the lake. That's the plan. So it was a great meeting, very good stuff. I also had a meeting this morning with some folks who are interested in the downtown parcel that we are looking to have developed. They were very excited about that piece of ground, and part of their excitement stemmed from what we're doing downtown, the rehab of North Cove Park, the addition of the mill, having the farmers market. They really saw and were excited about the rejuvenation of our downtown and wanted to be a part of it. So we have 2 or 3 developer folks that are looking at that property. So getting some excitement and some synergy down there over that piece of property. So with that, we will move to city department report. And I think all we have is Barb for some comments tonight.
Thank you. I appreciate that. As you know, I sent out some emails yesterday regarding our financial statement accountability audit. Our 2018-2019 audit reports have been published by the state auditor's office. As some of you may remember, in 2019, near the completion of our 2018 financial statement and accountability audit, the state auditor's office had quite a bit of significant turnover in their Everett office, which is the office that audits us. They at that time had asked if we would consider allowing them to do a 2-year audit. We haven't done a 2-year audit in many years. These are normally used for smaller entities, and the only reason that they even considered going with a 2-year audit for us, one, to help them, but it was also because we are considered a very low risk auditee. So we did allow them to do a 2-year audit. It did extend their audit period. They didn't come on site this year, but they were with us basically for the entire year on and off. So that did save us about $6,000. Normally it's right around $30,000, and so a year. So it saved us about $6,000 doing a 2-year versus 1 year. And we got another clean audit. So that is the big congratulatory statement. We got another clean audit, no significant recommendations. I was trying to remember back how long it's been since we didn't have a clean audit, and it would have been way before my time. So I think we're probably going on somewhere around 20 years with the city with no significant audit recommendations, just exit items as they call them, which are, follow up on policies, do some of those things. So I did want to say congratulations and thank you to the mayor, council, city administrator for your leadership and guidance. It definitely comes from top down. All of city staff, it really is a team effort for the accountability and internal controls throughout the city. And then a special thank you if any of my team is on tonight. The finance department works all year round doing this and keeping everybody in check and definitely, and also acting as a liaison for the auditor. So it is a great thing, and I'm happy I can finally say we're done, we got it, it is published, and it's another clean audit. So thank you.
Great stuff, Barb, and just a congratulations to your folks and yourself. Being married to an auditor, I know how brutal and relentless they can be. So yes, great job, good work. Okay, so with that, any other alibis on department reports? All right, hearing none, let's move to the consent agenda. Can I get a motion to pass this consent agenda, please?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I've got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So, Mr. Mayor, do we not have a Washington Parks and Recreation statewide survey from Russ?
We do, and I'll step back to that. Thanks for catching that, Kim. So do we pass on the motion for the consent agenda? Russ, let's go back to your report.
I didn't really have a report to present to you tonight. I had just received that document in an email, and I just thought that the council might find the statistics in there interesting. So really wasn't preparing to do a verbal report tonight.
Okay, great.
Okay, then I take it back.
Okay, so with that, we will move to action item. It would be I, which is board and commission appointments and reappointments. And so that would be for me. And we did have some vacancies on different commissions and boards that are outlined in the packet. We had some reappointments as well. And so with that, I would ask for a motion to pass these reappointments and new appointments.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
I thought we were going to have a discussion.
The discussion comes next.
The discussion.
Okay. Thank you.
So with that, I'll open the floor to discussion.
Thank you.
You bet.
Yeah. So I love to have you talked with me today, Mayor Gailey, kind of clarifying how it works. And I would appreciate it if you just present that in a short way so that everybody listening understands how we come up with who goes on and gets nominated and who gets put on those. And just a short, brief explanation just for the sake of transparency.
Sure. Well, so the timelines for how long people serve on the boards or commissions is set by our municipal code. And with that, whenever there's a vacancy open, then we announce that. Kelly puts a public announcement out and she brings in applications for those that are interested in whichever board or commission. Then those folks are then interviewed by a panel of folks, usually members of that board or that commission, to include 2 city council members who hold that position on interviewing the commissions and boards. That's currently Councilmember Ewing and Councilmember Daughtry. After those folks are interviewed, then their scores tallied, and at the end of that, someone rises to the top, and then that person is recommended to myself to be appointed. And I have yet to go against a recommendation of that advising committee. So that is the process. It's actually changed a little bit. Prior to, I think, 2 years, Kim, you might have a better memory, 3 years, there were not council members on that interviewing panel. And we made a change to ensure that the city council was represented on the interview panel as well. So,
Yeah, that is correct.
Yeah, I think that's a great addition.
Well, thank you for clarifying how it all works and to be open about it. I think that's important for governance and to be appreciated by the people. And thank you to Kim and Steve, Councilmember Kim and Steve, for your extra time you had to put into that. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, and I appreciate you bringing up that for a discussion item, Councilmember Dickinson. Okay, with that, any other discussion on this topic? Hearing none, people do a verbal vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Hearing none opposed, motion passes. So with that, we will go to action item J, which is professional services agreement for Lake Stevens Festival Street with Land Development Consultants Eric and Aaron.
Yes. Good evening, Mayor, City Council, members of the public. I am going to turn the floor over to Aaron Halverson, our Capital Projects Manager, to present this item. Aaron, take it away.
Great. Thank you, Eric. And thank you, Council and Mayor, for this opportunity to share this contract amendment with Land Development Consultants for the Festival Street design. So this is the second contract amendment with LDC, Land Development Consultants, for the Festival Street design project. And the reason we're coming back with another amendment is the scope of the project has changed. We've added several important elements to the project, including a gateway sign, some additional utility coordination for future commercial development on the Festival Street, design of a museum building, which is a large addition, planning and design for the Grimm House relocation, design and planning for a boardwalk, and permit support. The additional cost for this design effort is $93,665. That brings the contract total to over $200,000, but this contract with LDC includes full roadway design and all of the design I mentioned before. This is a full design project effort for construction bid documents and permit support that is needed to take this project from concept to construction. So what we're asking is that you authorize the mayor to sign the professional services agreement with LDC for engineering, planning, and building design for the additional effort on the Lake Stevens Festival Street project. Are there any questions?
I do have one. It's getting a little into the weeds, but this is the first I've heard about a boardwalk. What are we talking about?
Well, I'll do my best, and perhaps Gene, you want to step in. The idea is in the old mill area, there were several boardwalks, and so we're trying to capture that historical element in this historical mill spur roadway design. We don't know exactly where that boardwalk is going to be. I think there are a lot of good ideas about where that can be and what that can look like, but we'd like to incorporate, some length of boardwalk.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
I got a question. Was that boardwalk, were we looking, was that right by the Lake Stevens grocery along that road that has very little sidewalk there? Was that where we were kind of thinking of that? I'm not sure. I was curious.
Aaron, I can tackle this if you'd like.
Great. Yes, please.
With the coordination with the Historical Society, their current museum building and around the library has had that boardwalk element. And that's just something that the Historical Society has really wanted as an element in their site. So the current thoughts are putting some sort of a boardwalk between the Grimm House and the new museum, not an extended area, but just more of an amenity for the site plan and function of the museum in Grimm House.
That'll be cool. I like that. I like it.
If I could add to that, we haven't decided, and we will through this contract, whether it'll actually be a wooden boardwalk or a stamped concrete boardwalk for ease of maintenance. So that's what will be distilled through this contract.
Could we also include in that to have a composite instead and make it look, a little bit more like a boardwalk, because the maintenance on that is pretty low.
Certainly. We've even looked at like Epay and import or exotic wood that would last a long time. And they did use Epay in Las Vegas in front of Treasure Island with millions of visitors walking on that every year. So all those will be visited through this contract.
Yeah, okay. Epay is pretty good too, yeah.
Okay, Aaron, do you have anything else for us?
I do not.
Great work on this, as always. And so with that, I think we need a motion for this action item.
I'll make a motion to approve the mayor to sign the professional services agreement for the Lake Stevens Festival Street with Land Development Consultants.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. And any further discussion? Okay, so the motion on the table is to authorize the mayor to sign the professional services agreement for Lake Stevens Festival Street with Land Development Consultants. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you very much. And with that, we'll move on to discussion items, which is building and construction and fire code amendments. Ryan, you are up.
Hello. Thank you. Okay. I'll go over this as a general overview. If there's any concerns, we can go into more detail as needed. But to recap the material from the recent work session, the city is required to adopt the new editions of the state's building and fire code as mandated by the State Building Code Council. Staff had also proposed considerations for local administrative amendments. However, we've removed those from this current proposal due to time constraints and the uncertainty of the state's adoption status, which I'll explain more in a bit. But we may consider presenting those amendments to the council at a later date. So this proposed building code adoption is merely a basic code cycle update with local amendments to align with the fire code and to address minor conflicts between Lake Stevens Municipal Code and the International Property Maintenance Code, which the city has already adopted. The adoption of the residential building code also includes local climatic data to complete the geographic table as required in the residential code. Regarding council's prior concerns, stakeholders such as the Snohomish County Master Builders Association were sent a draft version of the code amendments for review and comment. Additionally, the proposed local amendments will have no financial impacts on the cost of construction. However, the other amendments are state mandated and the city does not have the authority to waive or diminish those requirements. At this point, I'd be happy to answer any questions on the proposed amendments or provide examples of some of the upcoming changes. Otherwise, I will ask Fire Marshal Messer to elaborate more on the fire code amendments before we discuss the state's delay and council's options.
Yeah, no problem. And thank you, Ryan. So first off, I want to say good evening to Mayor, all the city council members, and our members of the community joining us in TV land. And for those of you who are seeing me for the first time, I was the fire marshal for Lake Stevens before our districts merged with D7. So with that being said, it is a true pleasure to be back in the fire marshal's position and serving you as the fire marshal. With that being said, moving into the code amendments, once again, some of you have had the pleasure of listening to me lecture about fire code before, and I do believe I saw blood in some of yours in 2016. Tonight will be a lot easier. With listening to council's concerns, the economic environment we're in, what COVID might do, and everything that Ryan Muma just mentioned as far as what could potentially happen with the state's adoption, we're certainly looking at focusing on a very simple update of the fire code. So with that, let me bring up my notes here real quick. So as far as the fire code, what we're focusing on is one, updating all of our code references from 2015 and those adopted standards to the 2018 fire code and their reference standards. We also went through and we tried to clarify code requirements to where we put something in as a municipality that goes above and beyond, and making sure that the way those code requirements are written is how we want them enforced in the field. Next up, we've also removed a couple superseded sections of the International Fire Code. We're trying to realign our Lake Stevens Municipal Code with the requirements found in the International Code. And just so everyone on council is aware, when we look at the International Code and the NFPA standards, they're known as consensus standards. So there are very large groups of people and very large organizations that agree on those recommendations before they push out. So we're trying to move back to what those codes and standards are. Finally, we're looking at closing gaps to where our local code and amendments wasn't practical to enforce within our community. And needless to say, our community is growing by leaps and bounds. So with that said, the proposed changes within the fire code itself is one, we're looking at fire separation and moving back to the international standard of allowing building separation or firewalls to be used to separate buildings. Second up is sprinkler requirements are going to focus on buildings only. Our current city code was written with the word structures. When you look at a structure, it defines everything in the built environment, from the 6-foot fence to the cell tower to the building and homes that all of you are in right now. So clarifying that language back to building for the use of requiring sprinkler systems to be installed. Next up, we're also looking at removing private access driveways as used for fire apparatus access. This was something that we found since 2016 is impossible to enforce. So the access driveways that we're looking at as far as disallowing for the use of fire apparatus access specifically is focused on your flagpole lots within your neighborhoods. So the flagpole lots are your homes built off the long driveways. Long story short, at the end of the day, if we use that as a fire apparatus access road where our trucks have to go up to fight a fire, we're unable to because our residents still park on it. So enforcement is impractical. And then finally, we're looking at setting a new standard for address numeric signs. The way I've always described how do you address a building to our developers is imagine getting up at 2 a.m., turning on the lights and siren, it's raining and you can't see. So what this particular line of code as a new addition to the municipal code does is it makes those building numerics larger. So with that, I'll turn it back to Ryan or to the council members for any questions. Very simple update for us this year.
Thanks, Mike. That was a great explanation. I probably should have included a little more in mine in the sense that it's the same thing. We are amending the 2015, which currently reflected just to show the 2018 and the updated references, reference standards within that. And then as those amendments that Fire Marshal Messer mentioned in the fire code, the building code has essentially the same requirements that either mirror the fire code or lead you to it. So we made some amendments in the fire code, or I'm sorry, in the building code to, I can't even keep my own code straight here. We made some amendments in the building code so it's consistent with the fire code and we didn't have any conflicts there. And again, I'd be happy to discuss any more of the changes that the state has amended into the codes, some of the significant changes, but unfortunately we're kind of stuck with what they give us. And then I mentioned a delay on the state. So the state has initially, these codes were supposed to go into effect in July of 2020. And then due to the current environment with the pandemic, that they have delayed that twice. And last Friday, January 8th, they voted once again to delay the effective date of this code cycle to July 1st of this year of 2021. There is a possibility that the vote can be overturned by the governor, but this is not likely. In my opinion, I don't think that's going to happen. So with this, the council may consider to move forward with the current adoption and an effective date that is consistent with the state when they finally set on a final date to let these codes go into effect. Or council can choose to delay the adoption until sometime prior to the state's effective date. The only requirement is that the city adopts the new cycle prior to the state's effective date and not after. So staff is recommending a final public hearing to move forward with the adoption, including a provision that the effective date shall be as mandated by the state. And this will help create future stability to allow our customers to submit designs based on the updated codes, yet still have the choice to use the codes that are currently in effect. That's all I have.
I have a question. Fire Marshal Messer, here we go. No, it's not that bad. Not like last time. The address signage that you discussed at the very end, is that retro for everybody, or are we only new buildings going forward?
So great question. That would be retroactive as we move forward to where the current address signs are no longer visible. So first off, all new construction would have to conform, but as we do our annual fire inspections, if we come across XYZ business and the addressing that they currently have is no longer maintenance to where it's legible, then they would be asked to update to the current code. But as far as a blanket retroactivity to where code goes into effect and everybody has to change, that is not how that's enforced.
So this is only commercial, not
Only
residential.
Commercial, correct.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
No, no worries.
Yes, Ryan, I have a couple of questions for you. You and I have kind of conversed loosely on a couple of issues over the last couple of months, and because of these delays, it hasn't been real important that we get direction or answers on them. But I'm just wondering if you could highlight under the energy code some of the significant changes for education purposes of the rest of the council members?
Well, speaking residentially, for single family residential, some of the significant changes are the way the energy credits are calculated. So currently you have to achieve a certain number of credits based on the structure that you're proposing and size, the size of the structure, in addition to the type of heating that you're using. For example, if you're using a ductless heat pump, then you can achieve more credits than say if you were using a fuel-fired furnace. Electric resistance is now coming back. So one of the significant changes of the code is to increase those credit requirements to push more efficient systems, as well as buildings, tighter buildings. And I don't believe the insulation values have been increased, but they are increasing the values you need to achieve, in addition to assigning negative credits for fuels that are not efficient. So if, for instance, if you had an oil furnace, you would have to take a negative hit in your overall total. So that was a pretty significant change in the residential code for the energy. Another significant change for multifamily R2 apartments and hotels and such is, oh, I'm sorry, I don't believe it goes to hotels. It's R2 apartments and condos, but you are now required to install a heat recovery system, which will take the heat that is from the exhaust, say from your laundry room or your kitchen or your bathroom, and retain that heat and distribute it back into the building to reduce the load on your heating system. So they are pretty stringent requirements that were set, I want to say, by the governor in 2006, and they increase incrementally with every code cycle. And it's usually the biggest reason that builders would want to delay. I'm guessing, I shouldn't say it's the reason when they want to delay, but I think it's a cost increase that is absolutely affects them.
Okay, thank you. And so I guess fellow council members, keep that in mind when you talk about affordable housing. Regulations are killing us. Just a couple of quick things here. I'm just looking on page 87 of the council packet here. It talks about accessory buildings. And it says that accessory buildings shall not be constructed prior to the commencement of construction of the main building. Can you elaborate on that? And what's the reasoning behind that?
That is an existing code that is currently in place now. And obviously I wasn't with the city when that was initially proposed and adopted. So I couldn't speak to the intent behind it. That might be something that Russ can help with. Unfortunately, I don't have that section in front of me, so give me a second.
Yeah, it's 1448. I just, in light of our recent attempts to do accessory dwelling units, and I guess you call them DADUs or whatever you want to, cottage housing or whatever, that seems kind of counterproductive.
Well, I would
here.
Excuse me, sorry.
No, that's
I would say that there's probably the intent of this code would not be to affect a dwelling unit or accessory dwelling unit. The term accessory buildings, at least in the construction codes, refers to things such as detached garages, tool sheds, play sheds, things of that nature. On a commercial building, it could be the same, but again, that's speculation. I'm not sure what was intended when this code was adopted into municipal code, and I would defer to Russ if he has any input on that.
Sure. This section of code has been in place as long as I've been in Lake Stevens, but yeah, your interpretation is correct that it's more related to garages, sheds, things like that, that the intent is that residential lots, their sole purpose is for residential uses, and then appurtenant structures usually follow. You could build a small home such as an accessory dwelling unit prior to building your main residence. At that point, it would be the primary residence. So that's really the distinction.
okay. Thank you. And
I'm not sure that I buy off on that. Because I don't understand why, if I was to be building a house, which is probably never going to happen, but maybe if I was going to build a house and I had a nice sized lot and I wanted to put a garage shop type building on it. I might want to build that before my home, so I have places for my tools and places to put some of the materials and things like that. Or in my particular case, if I'm just talking personally, I would be building my own cabinets, and I could be building those while the house is going up if I had my shop already built. So I don't understand why that seems to be that important to not be able to allow that.
I think it's something the council could definitely give direction on. Like I say, it's been in the code for a long time, but I think the rationale behind it is obviously in a case like you're describing, I think we could have some discretion that if it's part of your building package, we could consider it. But I think the goal is not to have accessory structures that may never produce a house that could get used for some purpose that's not residential. So
Oh, I can see that. Okay, I understand it. I'm just
Russ, do
agree.
you occupancy permits for accessory dwelling unit or accessory buildings?
There's not an occupancy standard, but there is an inspection process that they go through a final inspection. Over 200 square feet would trigger a permit. So they would still have to get a framing inspection. If there's electrical, plumbing, any of that would still apply.
It would still be needed to be signed off in order
Correct.
to be a conforming structure. So I guess I'm just wondering, as far as a code enforcement, if somebody builds an accessory dwelling, or excuse me, accessory building and doesn't finalize it, they could be in violation of code, right? So anyway, I guess I'd say maybe we could look at that a little more closely, that section.
I'm in agreement with you, Gary. I'd really like to take a look at that as well. I don't want this to be counterproductive to what little affordable housing we have available to us. So.
And then just a quick clarification here on the next paragraph here. It talks about docks and overwater structures. Building permits shall be required for all docks. Under the shoreline master plan, that's not consistent, correct?
A building permit is required for the structure, just like the requirement for a deck to make sure that the joist beams, et cetera, are correct. Dock maintenance wouldn't necessarily trigger a building permit, but this is really referring to a new dock.
Okay, I guess I would ask that be clarified also then.
Okay.
Word new put in there. I just, in light of what's kind of going on here with our lake level, I kind of anticipate there's going to be some folks that are going to be rebuilding their docks, and I guess the sentiment out there, or the question is, am I going to have to get a permit to do that? And they probably suffered enough hardship as their dock floated away. So the less burden, the better. So anyway, those are the only comments I have at this point. So I appreciate your time.
I have one other clarification I'd like on the last subject, not on the dock subject. If you're going to do an accessory building along with the house, if you're building them in tandem, is that allowed?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, great. Do we have any more comments for Ryan?
Appreciate their time.
Yeah, good work on this stuff, guys. Appreciate it. We're going to keep moving here. And with that, we're going to break out for an executive session right now. And it's going to be reference potential litigation, and there will be no action to follow. So I'm going to give you all a breakout room invitation. If you'll move to that, we will have the executive session. Will be about 10 minutes.
The council has requested another 3 additional minutes, and they'll be back shortly. Thank you.
Okay, we are back in the main session. We have everybody back. Real quick, I wanted to just put out tomorrow morning, we are having Lean Sigma 6 training for several of our employees. As y'all know, one of my focuses this year is to really look at our processes and try to gain some efficiencies within our staff and procedures. And so we're kicking that off with some Lean Sigma 6 training with several of our directors. If you want to sit in on that, Kelly, I think that we can shoot a Zoom link out there to folks to, if you want to be able to sit in on it for the city council members. Okay, sure. With that, if I can get a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 We are adjourned, and I appreciate everyone's work. Great teamwork. Good stuff going on in the city, and go help your neighbor.
Good night.
Night, guys.
Good night.